Good morning, Carolina Village residents. I am glad that you joined me this morning for another session of your Village Vitality series. My name is Aline, and today's class, I'll be guiding you through a sequence designed to create peace in the mind, body, and spirit. So we'll be working with a lot of circular movements, with just a lot of sequences where multiple parts come together to kind of create a whole. And if that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to you now, don't worry about it. Hopefully it will as we progress throughout the class. For today's class, you will, if you're using your yoga mat, you'll want to set it up how I have it here. With just the very front legs of the chair on that mat, and that will just help it to keep it from sliding on your hard surface flooring. So keep in mind, if you have carpet, you don't need a mat at all. You could use one if you'd like to. I don't recommend using a mat on really plush, thick carpet because it kind of actually makes it a little less stable, and it will certainly challenge your balance if that's what you would like. Now, I also recommend removing shoes and socks unless that's just a no-go for you or you've been told by your doctor that you shouldn't do that. And if you have yoga blocks, then go ahead and make sure that they're handy around your chair. And don't worry if you don't have yoga blocks. It's absolutely not necessary. I do like to show some optional usage for those blocks. Just in case you have them, they're a great tool for making your stretches. Both they can aid you, giving you more support. And on the other end of the spectrum, they can actually challenge you more, just depending on how you use them. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So you will come to the edge of your chair. This is so important for establishing a little bit more core effort. So we're starting to, from the get-go, work some of our stabilizer muscles in the core, the sides of the body, and the back, and creating mindfulness. So that's what is so beneficial. One of the things that's so beneficial about this type of chair yoga exercises is establishing the mind-body connection so that you're more aware of your posture every day, every moment, not just in class. If, however, you have issues with sitting at the edge of the seat for more than a couple minutes, maybe because you start to lose feeling in the legs, the feet fall asleep, maybe it just becomes so uncomfortable that you can't sit upright anymore, go ahead and feel free to scoot back to a more supportive position. And because the class today is focused on a sense of peace, a sense of ease, a sense of completeness, you may just want to do this anyways and come to the back of the seat. Just make sure if you are, that you're still positioning the body with as much integrity as possible and you're trying to keep the chest open. We'll begin today with a breathing technique called Samavriti, which means equal ratio breathing. Sometimes this is referred to as square breathing. And if you remember this one, this is kind of my new favorite. It might have overtaken some of my old favorite breathing exercises since starting this series. And the reason for that is it's a very accessible breathing technique. It's very effective. Remember, our Navy SEALs use this breathing technique, and probably a lot of other entities like that for stress relief and relaxation. And it has a very quick effect. It brings the heart rate down, it brings the breathing frequency down, it gets more oxygen to the tissues, releases more carbon dioxide from the lungs. So all good things. What this breathing technique looks like is a 4-count or a 4-part breath, and each of those parts is 4 counts. So what that will look like is a 4-count inhale, a 4-count hold. So this is where we're not inhaling or exhaling. We're just trying to kind of freeze the breath. Try not to strain on this part. Keep the face relaxed, keep the body relaxed. If you find that that breath retention is too challenging for you, then just focus on a 4-count inhale and a 4-count exhale. Just take that hold out entirely, okay? But if you can, 4-count inhale, 4-count hold, 4-count exhale, and then another 4-count hold. So between each inhale and exhale, we're trying to retain that breath. And that's where a lot of the benefits come into play. However, as I mentioned before, it's still so beneficial to work with just your equal ratio of inhale and exhale. Because often, I would say hardly ever, maybe 5% of the time, when we're breathing subconsciously, meaning we're not controlling it, we're very rarely, maybe like I said, 5% of the time, actually breathing in a balanced manner. Typically, our inhales or our exhales are longer, one or the other, just depending. So enough talk. Let's get started. So hopefully you've had time to set everything up, to get comfortable. And remember, you can sit at the edge of your seat. If you're going to do that, really be mindful of having the feet set, hip width apart, ankles under knees, pushing down and rooting down into the feet, rooting down into the hips to help you lift up. Trying to keep the shoulders stacked over the hips. So often we'll sit a little too forward or we'll hunch forward. And so we want to keep that chest open and lifted. And we want to keep the ears over the shoulders. So for most of us, that means kind of, you're not tucking the chin, but you're just kind of pushing the whole head back a little bit. So if you're going to work this way, this is more or less what it will look like. And you're trying to mimic that same posture even if you're back in your chair. Okay? So go ahead wherever you've decided to start class. Try to find a comfortable position for the arms and allow the eyes to close. And at first, just take a moment or two to establish a relationship, a connection, a peeking into the internal environment. What's going on in your body? What's going on in that mind of yours? Just taking a moment to slow down and to look inward. We don't often do this. We often purposefully or unintentionally distract ourselves with outside stimulus. The TV, hobbies or crafting, reading, interacting with other people. And it's not that that's bad, but it's just that we don't spend much time with ourselves, even when we're by ourselves. So just start to notice, where are you sore? Where are you in pain? Where do you feel good in the body? What is your mind going to right now? Maybe you're a faster paced person and you're thinking, I just want to start moving my body. Whatever you find will teach you a lot about yourself and your personality and what's going on with your body. Start to bring a little more focus now to your breathing. Noticing what movement comes to the body, if any, when you inhale and when you exhale. Notice the depth of breath. Notice the quality of breath, what it feels like when it enters the nostrils, and if it feels any different when it exits. Soak in as many details as you can. And before we begin our Samavriti technique, see if you can invite any more relaxation into the body. If you're holding tension in the shoulders, in the jaw, or the eyebrows, those are our common culprit areas. Try to release that tension and holding now to allow your body to be more receptive for the breathing technique. And keep in mind, you control the count here. I'm not going to count for you, so that way you can count faster or slower, but try to maintain a 4 count inhale and a 4 count exhale, and possibly that hold in between. So just as an example, I'll start, and you can keep this tempo if it feels good to your body, or you can slow it down or speed it up. But when you're ready, we'll begin with our 4 count inhale. So inhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4. Holding the breath for 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhaling 1, 2, 3, 4. Holding the breath 2, 3, 4. Inhale 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3, 4. Exhale 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3, 4. Continue to breathe in that pattern at your own pace, counting internally to yourself. Trying to keep the body relaxed. And trying to rein in that mind by focusing on every little sensation that you possibly can of the breath in the body. And of trying to allow the body to be more receptive to that breath. Continue to cycle through with this technique several more times. And again, if you struggle with that breath retention or that holding, then you can eliminate it. You can just shorten it. So maybe try just 2 counts. But we never want to feel too much force or strain with any of our pranayama or yogic breathing techniques. Force is never the way to go when it comes to our bodies and our breathing and a lot of other things. Keep going if you can. Inhaling for 4, holding for 4, exhaling for 4, holding for 4. If you're still going with the technique, try about 3 to 5 more rounds. Unless you've started yawning quite a bit, or your eyes are watering, or you're feeling lightheaded, those are all indications to go ahead and stop the breathing technique now. And when you feel that you've completed enough cycles of this breathing, if you're not already at the edge of your chair, go ahead and, if you can, maintain your eyes closed, or just open them just enough so that you can see your way to come to the edge of your seat. You can return to normal breathing. But if it feels good to you, you can either return to that breathing technique any point throughout the class or maintain it. And so coming to the edge of your seat, ensuring that alignment, space between the knees, so you can actually feel for where your hips are if you want to. Go along that line with your knees, and then trying to get those ankles, the heels underneath the knees. Rooting down through the hips, lift up through the chest. So think about the heart lifting and opening and the shoulders releasing down. And we'll begin our movements with some neck circling. So just a little warning, if you do suffer from vertigo, you may just want to drop your head side to side. So you're still getting a good neck stretch, but the circling of the head could potentially make you dizzy, but try it out if you're not sure that it would make you dizzy. So we're just going to drop that right ear to the right shoulder first, moving slowly here, starting to drop the chin to the chest, but without rounding forward. So no rounding, keep the back nice and upright. Pushing left ear to left shoulder, lifting that head back to center. Go ahead and circle just the head that way a few more times. Working at a pace that feels lovely to you. So sometimes moving slower can feel really nice, getting into those tight, weary neck muscles. And when you're ready to invite a little more movement, the next time you drop your head to the right, drop your shoulder as well. And then as you circle your head down and forward, circle your shoulders as well. So you are rounding through the back here as long as that feels okay. As you drop the head to the left, you're also dropping the left shoulder to the left. And then you're bringing it all back to center. So we're just starting to incorporate some torso circling here as well. Remember, the movement is initiated from that head circling. So don't lose sight of that. We're just combining the two movements, kind of working through the whole length of the spine now. Go ahead and take one more circle in that direction. Leading with the head movement. Coming back to center, we'll start to reverse the direction with just the head circles first. So dropping left ear to left shoulder, chin to chest, right ear to right shoulder. Keep those shoulders relaxed. Try to stay as upright as you can. Go ahead and take 2 or 3 more just neck circles. We're working in that opposite direction. It's beneficial to move the joints, even though we're technically moving in the same, spaces. It can be beneficial to move in a different direction, both for the brain and the body. So the next time you drop your head to the left, go ahead and let that shoulder drop. So we're stretching the right side of the body a little bit. Dropping the head to center, letting the whole chest drop forward, stretching the back. And then as we drop that head to the right, we're dropping the right shoulder down, stretching that left side of the body, and then coming up. So go ahead and take about 3 or 4 more full circles, both the head and the rest of the spine. And your movements may be a little bit smaller than mine, but try to work with as much movement as you can, dropping that head towards the knees. And especially in that side-to-side movement, try not to skimp too much there. So we really want to try to stretch out those sides. Maybe one more circle. And finding center again, lifting up tall through the top of the head. Let's start to just pick up that right foot. You can kind of hold underneath to make this a little more passive and support that leg. You're just going to circle that right ankle. Really work through the toes too. So I'm circling out to the side first. You don't have to do that, but if you want to follow along, that's the pattern you want to take. So we're going to start with the circle of the ankle and working through the toes, and then add the hip as well. So you may feel or hear popping in that joint. As long as there's no pain too, you're fine. It's really normal. It might mean that we need to be doing this more frequently though. The next time you start to circle to the right, go ahead and open that knee out too. So you're just trying to coordinate the movement of the ankle with the movement of the knee, but don't let it trip you up too much. Just try to keep the joints moving. So it doesn't have to be perfectly lined up, but you are trying to, as you turn the toes in towards the middle, you're bringing the knee in towards the middle. As you lift the toes up, you're lifting the knee. As you circle the toes out, you're opening that knee out. Try to stay lifted here through the front of the body, trying not to collapse in the spine. One more circle. And release that leg down. Let's work with the other leg. So lifting that knee up, holding underneath that left knee for support, just starting with circling the ankle. And don't worry, we are going to switch directions, but we're just giving this leg a break. So slowly circling, really working through the toes here, pointing and flexing and spreading those toes apart. Unless you happen to do this regularly throughout your day, we don't move our toes in this way. We don't move our ankles in this way. And we start to lose flexibility and lose just the fine-tuned strength in all of these little muscles in the feet and in the ankle and in the toes. And so these types of movements are so beneficial. Start to circle or incorporate that hip circle now. Just trying to open out as big as you can. Remember, as the toes lift, the knee lifts. As the foot opens out to the side, the knee opens out to the side. As the toes come down, the knee comes down, in and in. And so you're just trying to coordinate that movement as best you can. Again, don't stop the movement entirely while you try to figure it out. Just keep moving. Go ahead and take one more circle like that. And release that left foot. Coming back to the right foot now, giving it a little support. So if you circled out like I did, if you were coordinating with me, we're going to circle inward first now. So circling in, around, and down. You may notice it feels different to the foot. You may not notice that. Everyone's a little bit different. And it also depends on how much you were paying attention. That's one of the beautiful things about our yoga practice is creating that mindful awareness. Go ahead and start to incorporate now the knee and hip with your movements. So again, hopefully creating a sense of peacefulness, of wholeness with our movements and ease in the body. It doesn't mean that everything we do will be easy today, but the idea is looking at fluidity in the body, in the joints, and in that mind-body connection and what we are doing. The next time you bring that foot down, go ahead and relax it down. Let's switch back to the left foot, and then we'll work a little bit on the hands and arms. So bringing that left knee up. If you were following along with me, we're now circling inward, down, around, and up. You may notice you're able to get a little more range of motion after that first circling. The joints and muscles are a little more warmed up. Literally, the temperature has increased in the body in those areas. And also the fluid in those joints has kind of spread out and coated the joints a little better. Go ahead and start moving the hip now. Another reason why we're doing all of these circular movements today. Wonderful for the joints. And typically when our joints are happy and at ease and peace, that can translate a little more into the emotional and mental states as well. One or two more circles here. And release that foot down when you're ready. You can shake those legs out if you need to. Reposition yourself into what we call seated Tadasana, or mountain pose. And it's just that good hip alignment, knee alignment, ankle alignment, sitting up tall. Let's work with the hands. Super beneficial for really everyone that has hands, but also if you have arthritis, this is a great exercise. And we're just gonna circle. So we're gonna work with both hands at the same time, circling out. Notice how I'm kind of moving the fingers through this circular movement too, kind of scrunching them up and then spreading them out. Don't worry so much. Your elbows are going to rotate a little bit. Just try to keep them from moving wildly around. So I kind of tuck my elbows in so that I isolate most of the movement to the fingers and the wrists. And again, there's really no right or wrong. Go through kind of motions that feel good for you. You are trying to circle and to really work through as much motion as you can in the joints. But don't worry if you can't get it exactly like mine. We're going to start to involve the elbows a little more now. So as I circle out, I'm also going to circle out with the elbows and circle in. Again, it doesn't have to look exactly like this, but now we're inviting more movement into the arms and starting to rotate at the shoulder as well. See how fun and funky you can get with your movement here. You may want to change it up a little bit. Just take about one or two more circles. And shake those arms out gently. We're going to work in the opposite direction. Wiggle those legs too if you need to. If you have issues with sciatic nerve or those feet falling asleep, neuropathy, anything like that, just get it moving. Reposition. Let's bring those elbows back in towards the sides. And we circled out the first time, so now we're going to circle in first. And we're starting with just the fingers and the wrists, although the elbows will move a little bit. Just taking nice deep breaths. Trying to relax the body as much as possible while still maintaining that upright posture. So try to not round forward. That tends to be people's default posture. And we're trying to change that habit in our class and then hopefully beyond the class time. In yoga, those habits, they're called samskaras. which means I think it translates to groove or something like that. So we're creating these grooves, these ruts, these habits where our body will just go back to whatever the holding pattern is. We also create those. Go ahead and start to move the elbows now. In our emotional reactions and in everything. So samskaras translate to literally everything, not just movements of the body. And if we can change those, and neurologically, that is 100% possible, changing those samskaras. So keep working on that upright posture, the open chest, the relaxed shoulders. Maybe you're having to actually push them down. They often won't relax on their own. All right, maybe one more circle here. And gently shake those arms out. And we're going to work full body motions now. So let's straighten that right leg out, really pressing into the left leg here. We're going to do some rocking forward and back while at the same time moving through the shoulders and circling the shoulders as well. And so for that rocking, you want to make sure you're staying long in the body. So I'm rocking forward in a straight line, hinging from right here at the hip crease. I am not hinging from the back. So I'm not rounding forward and hinging there at my mid back. The hinge is happening from down here at the hips. Okay, so it might be a bit smaller of a movement, but the idea is we're gently starting to work into stretching the hamstrings as we're working with the shoulders. So let's begin with the arms down. As you hinge forward, circle those arms back, around, and down as you sit up. So I'm kind of circling back. As I'm holding that little stretch, I'm circling forward. And again, there's not really a right or wrong here. So if you want to change how long you hold that forward position, go for it. So maybe you're holding it longer or not. Maybe you're kind of changing when you hinge in that arm movement. You really have to try to work out what feels best for your body. And if you have issues with maybe rotator cuff where you can't lift the arms overhead, you might want to just circle with the elbows here. Or if you feel that working with the arms in that manner is straining the back, try this with fingertips towards the elbows, or fingertips towards the shoulders, and you're just working with the elbows. Wherever you are with your arm movement, the next time you hinge forward, bring those arms down. Go ahead and grab underneath the back of that thigh. And as you come up, really powerfully engage the back. Start to lift like you're dragging this leg up towards the chest. And we're going to move into some cat and cow tilts. Fingers are interlaced under that leg. So you're going to draw that knee into the chest on an inhale, pressing the chest forward, the belly forward, lifting the chin. And on your exhale, straightening the leg out, scooping out here. So you're like scooping. If you could take like an ice cream scooper and just scoop all this out, you're trying to create this hollow. Inhaling up. Exhaling down. Take a couple more breaths like this. Moving fluidly with your breathing. So you may be going a little faster or a little slower than me, depending on the pace of your breath. The next time you exhale and straighten that leg out, on your inhale, instead of coming up, release that leg back down. Lift back up to lengthen through the body. And then on your exhale, you're going to take that same hinge at the hips forward, but this time we're going to hold our stretch. So if you do have blocks, this is a great opportunity to use them. If you don't have the blocks, you're going to support your body on that left leg. You don't want to put any weight. So I don't want to like put my hand down here on the shin because that can compromise my knee joint. So definitely want both hands on this left thigh. But if you have blocks, you can bring your hands to blocks on either side of your legs. Trying to keep length in the spine. However, it will round a little bit, and that's fine. As long as you're feeling a stretch in the back of that thigh, you're doing good. You might also feel a bit of a stretch in the back as well, and possibly in the calf. And possibly other places, just depending, again, on where you're tighter and where you're more open. Try to take a few more deep, full inhales and exhales here. Try to relax the head, relax the jaw, relax the shoulders, bringing a sense of peace into the body. Even if you're feeling a lot of sensation in the muscles, try to bring that ease by relaxing the body wherever you can, by deepening the breath. And when you're ready, on an inhale, slowly start to come up. If you were using blocks, you may just want to pick them up with you as you come up. Sliding that right foot in. Noticing differences between the right and the left side. And let's go ahead and work with that left leg now. So straightening that left leg out, pressing actively into the right foot. Last time we started our circles back and then forward. So this time we're going to circle in the opposite direction, either again with elbow circles, so fingertips towards the shoulders, or with full shoulders movement. So for this one, probably what you'll do to start that, because we went back first, forward first. Okay, just had to work it out myself. You're going to hinge forward, remember, at the hips. Arms come forward as you hinge. So this time we're kind of moving with the movement of the torso. But again, if that doesn't feel right to you, if you want to change where your arms are circling within this movement, go for it. Just trying to take nice, steady breaths. Trying to observe the movement of the shoulders, the stretching in the body, maybe where you feel resistance in the body. Try to keep that neck neutral. So when we bend forward, we're trying not to keep the chin lifted. We want to keep the chin tucked down. When you're ready and the next time you come forward, go ahead and grab underneath that left leg. Pick it up. So I'm interlacing my fingers underneath that thigh. Might release the thumbs, whatever feels best for you. And start moving into those cat and cow spinal movements. So as I draw the knee in, I'm pressing the belly forward, pressing the chest forward, lifting the chin. And as I extend that leg out, I'm scooping out with the abdomen, navel to spine, exhaling, dropping the chin to chest. And the weight of that leg can really stretch nicely between the shoulder blades if you let it. So if you kind of let that leg sink down, it'll pull you into a little deeper stretch in that upper back. Just working through a few more inhales and exhales here. Maybe one more inhale. And one more exhale. And instead of coming back up after that exhale, you'll release that leg down. Inhale to lengthen and lift again through the chest. Relax the shoulders. Might want to grab those blocks if you're using them. We're going to come into our forward fold to stretch the whole back of that leg. So again, you're hinging right here at the hips. This is where you're bending, not here at the spine. So try to keep the spine long. Hinge forward, even if that means this is as far as you come, you might not even be able to use your blocks. And so you'll have hands here on this right thigh. But if you can reach far enough to get those blocks down to the ground without totally rounding in the back, then go for it. And if this is not enough stretch, remember you have options with the different, what I call settings of your block. So you can deepen that fold depending on how you use your blocks. You can also reach those blocks further forward to change the stretch a little bit. So just try to settle here, noticing where all you feel the stretch, trying to release the body into this stretch without compromising that length in the spine. So still you're staying a little bit active in the back. Again, trying to take nice deep breaths. Maybe even returning a little bit to your Samavriti or your equal ratio breathing. And when you feel ready, on an inhale, begin to lift up and out of your stretch. Maybe bringing those blocks with you if you're using blocks. And slowly sliding that foot back in. Let's set those blocks out to the side. However, we're about to do a forward fold, so you may want to keep them handy if you're going to use them. So again, setting those feet in our seated mountain pose position. Lining everything up. Let's take an inhale to lift those arms up and overhead. On an exhale, open the arms out to the sides or bring them to the thighs. And you're going to fold forward just like we did before with our stretch, keeping the back flat as long as we can. And then releasing all the way down. Let that back round here. Again, you might be using your blocks to give you some support. You might be able to touch the ground, so you can just use the ground for support. But even if you can touch the ground, blocks are really nice to have for this forward fold. You can reach them out to just stretch out the chest and shoulders a little bit more while you're in this fold. Try to let that head relax. This should be fine for most everyone unless lowering your head below your heart makes you very dizzy. And then you may want to stay a little bit more upright where the head is level with the heart. But if you are down in that fold, go ahead and start to lift up and out. Start to flatten the back as early in this lift as you can. So we're trying to engage that spine and come all the way back up. And then on an inhale, let's lift those arms. Adjust here a little bit. Let's lift those arms, inhaling. On your exhale, opening them back and down. Reaching for the sides of your chair here and pressing forward any amount more for a nice back bend. So this is a little bit of what we call a counter pose to that forward bend. Try to push the shoulders down, press the heart open, press the belly forward, lift the chin. Almost like you're pulling away from the back of the chair. Breathing here, one more inhale. And on your exhale, release that back bend. Good. Let's work a little more with the legs now with some lunging. So walking those feet over to your right side. Go ahead and just free up that left hip. So you might want to be holding on to the chair. If you do have arms on your chair, you'll just be at a little more of an angle. You won't be able to turn as far as I'm turning. So we want to root this right foot down below the knee. And then we want to start to lift up that left heel. And I'm trying to scoot that foot back behind me. So if I can, I'm trying to get the knee under the hip. And then from there, if I can, I'm trying to go even further, any amount. So even if it's just getting that knee a little bit behind my hip, awesome. If you can straighten it all the way back out behind you, awesome too, or anywhere in between. So just trying to get it where you can, noticing that lovely stretch, maybe a lot of sensation. Try to stick with it in this lunge position. If you can, you're going to inhale at least the left arm up. And if you feel stable enough, you're inhaling both arms up. On your next exhale, we're going to twist to the right. If you have both arms up, you're going to open them out to the sides. So you're twisting the shoulders to that right side. If you don't have both arms up, maybe this right arm is coming to the top of the chair for support. On your inhale, sweep that right arm down and come back up to your high lunge. And then on your next exhale, you're going to open the arms out. So again, you might be working with just this one arm, the left arm. But as you open the arms out, you're going to try to open that hip out too and bring the foot down to the ground. So of course, you may look a little bit different. So if you're in a little bit of a tighter lunge position, you're going to open out more like this. And if you can, you're going to try to straighten that leg out. So now we're in a warrior two position. Feeling a stretch here in the groin. And again, maybe this right hand is down here for support. And now, if you can, you're going to try to work through that 2 more times. So we're going to circle that left arm down. As we circle down, we're going to pivot back onto the toes here. Shift the hips back to the front. High lunge. Exhale, twist to the right. Take a breath. Inhale, start to shift back to your high lunge. Exhale, opening out to your warrior two position. Taking a breath. So we're taking about a breath in each pose. One more time. Shifting through. Again, your body shape may look a lot different than mine, but you're just trying to work through these different positions as best as your body will allow you to. Exhale, open out to your warrior two. Everyone join me here in your variation of this pose. Remember, it may look a little bit more like this knee's bent, and that's fine. If you can, try to work to straighten it out. Take a deep inhale here. On your next exhale, start to reach forward. So you'll feel this stretch increase probably. Reach, reach, reach. Try to bring that elbow down to the thigh. Let this top arm relax. Now, if you do have a block and you are flexible enough and want to try to bring that hand to the inside of the block, Go for it here. We're moving into a pose called extended side angle. You might not even be able to reach the forearm to the thigh. And if not, you're holding on to the chair here. But you are trying to lean into that stretch as much as you can while keeping the chest open and out. So we're trying not to rotate or twist. We want to keep the shoulder as much in line with that top leg as possible. Scoop that left arm down, around, and at an angle. So we're trying to make a long line here with the leg and the arm and the torso. So again, your hand might be here at a block. Your elbow might be on the thigh, or you might be much more upright, wherever your body will allow. Hold here for a breath or two more. Feeling all the sensations of the stretch, trying to relax the body as much as you can. When you're ready to come out of it, do so on an inhale, lifting up. And exhale, just let go. So let those legs relax. Bring them back to center. Shake them out. Take any kind of decompressive movements that feel good. We're going to move one more time into our forward fold and our back bend, and then we'll do that on the other side. So finding your seated mountain pose again. Coming to the edge of that chair. Lining up the knees, lining up the ankles. Maybe going ahead and grabbing your blocks, and you're going to fold forward into that forward fold. So you might want to already have your blocks in your hands or already bring your blocks to the outsides of your feet. We're going to inhale those arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Keep length in your spine. Keep it long as you can in that fold. And then allow yourself to release and round out. Regardless of whether you have blocks or not, you may want to try now to reach towards the legs of your chair. To just deepen that stretch. Might feel really good to the back. You may want to take those blocks forward. You may want to just keep them here for support. So many options. You can grab opposite elbows and let that added weight sink you deeper into the stretch. So we're really just tractioning out or lengthening out the spine here. Try to let that head release. So try not to hold it up, unless, of course, you're doing that to protect yourself from dizziness or any other issues where the head lifted feels better. But if we can, we're trying to release and traction that whole spine, including the cervical spine or the neck. Take one more breath here. As you start to lift up, start with the head first. So you're lifting the head, lifting the shoulders, trying to lengthen or flatten out the back as early on in that lift as you can, coming all the way up to seated. And then moving into that back bend. So if you want, you can lift those arms again on an inhale. Exhale, circle them back and down, just opening up the chest and shoulders a little bit to prepare for that back bend, grabbing the back of your chair. Pressing the belly, ribs, chest forward, lifting that chin. If you're not able to actually grab the chair, you're just keeping the arms basically as close to the chair as you can, trying to eventually be able to grab hold there. Take one more deep inhale. And on your exhale, release the back bend and the arms. Let's walk the feet over now to that left side. Remember, if you have arms on your chair, you're just going to be at a bit more of an angle, like so. If you can, you're kind of going a whole 90 degrees here with your body. So positioning that left foot, knee over the ankle, maybe holding on to the back of your chair here for support. You're starting to bring that right foot underneath you and pushing it back behind you. So most folks that I've worked with here at the Village can come down with that knee under the hip. So try for that if you can. You may stay here throughout this whole sequence. However, if at all possible, see if you can keep walking that foot back. Even if it's just a couple more inches, it will really deepen the stretch and get you a little more stable so that you can lift both arms up in the air. So from here, let's at least lift that right arm up. If you can, you're lifting left arm as well. And we'll move slowly through this first sequence and then move a little bit faster for the last 2 rounds. So on your next exhale, you're twisting and opening the arms, if you're using both arms, to that left side. If you're not using both arms, maybe that left hand is on the back of the chair or side of the chair. You're trying to just open that chest over to that left side. Taking a breath or 2 here. Really pressing actively into both feet. If you're using both arms, you're going to start to circle that left arm down, inhaling as you lift both arms back up. High lunge. Try to push those shoulders down even though the arms are lifted. On an exhale, you're opening out to Warrior 2. So remember, you're opening the arms and you're also trying to open this hip and press this foot down to the ground. Your positioning may look a lot different. This knee may be a lot more bent if you're not as wide of a stance, and that's fine. This is your version of Warrior 2, perhaps. Maybe this is your version of Warrior 2. So if you can straighten the leg out, even if it's at an angle, awesome, as long as it feels okay. If you can, though, you're shooting for kind of working on this same line. Breathe here. Again, shoulders are relaxed. Maybe this front arm is on the chair if you feel you need that support. Maybe both arms are on the chair. But you're trying to open the chest forward, not twisting towards that front leg. Let's try to cycle through that 2 more times. So as I bring that right arm down, I'm pivoting back onto my toes, dropping this right hip down towards the ground, inhaling those arms up. Exhaling, moving into my twist. Inhaling, back to center, high lunge. Exhaling, back to Warrior 2. So I'm trying to go breath by breath if I can, but don't force it too much. Inhaling, high lunge. Exhaling, twist. Inhaling, high lunge. Exhaling, Warrior 2. And from here, release the arms. Go ahead and grab your block if you're going to use it. Bring it to the inside of that left foot. Inhale those arms back up, one or both. Try to reach forward as much as you can. So even if this arm is on the chair, you're still hinging forward as much as you can. And if possible, you're bringing the elbow to the thigh or hand to the block. Sweep this right arm down, around, and create that long line. But again, if that tweaks your shoulder, you can just rest that arm down. And remember, you may be looking more like this. That is still extended side angle, Utthita Parsvottanasana in Sanskrit. This is still side angle. This is side angle. This is side angle. This is side angle. This is, it doesn't matter what variation you're taking. Try to come to your version. Respect your body. Love yourself. Just trying to make sure that left shoulder is over the leg. So even if you have the hand here on the chair behind you, you're trying to get that shoulder in line with the leg and you're not twisting, okay? Just trying to keep that heart open. Take just 1 or 2 more breaths here. On an inhale, coming up from that side bend. And on an exhale, just release that body. Nice work. Shake it out. We're going to come to standing to just do a brief little sequence to work on our balance and a little bit more on our leg strength. Then we'll relax. So to come up to standing, if you would like to challenge yourself a little bit, you're going to come up through chair pose or Utkatasana. And possibly using that block, if you have it, between the thighs. If you don't have the block, your body positioning is the same. Still keeping that space between the knees. You're going to walk those feet in just a little bit so that really the toes are under the knees. Sweep those arms forward, lift the hips away from the chair, but don't come all the way up to standing. So you're staying in this squat position. Maybe the hands come to the heart to just make it a little more accessible. Notice my back is flat. I am not letting my chest sink forward. I'm not rounding forward. I'm trying to kind of lift up out of this squat with my upper body. Whew. Take an inhale to come all the way up to standing. Maybe sending those arms overhead. Exhaling to release. Nice work. Everybody join me standing. Come behind your chair. If you are using a mat, I recommend moving your chair here to the front of your mat so you have this space here to work with. So we're going to be standing sideways to the mat, left hip facing the chair, just working with one standing posture, one balanced posture, and then we'll switch. So I'm going to angle or open my left toes towards the chair. I'm not turning that way. I'm trying to keep facing like I was. And then I'm going to open my right foot out as wide as I feel comfortable. I mean, for some of you, it may be a full, nice, wide stance. For some of you, it may just be about a foot. Again, it's up to you and your body. Both legs are straight. We're coming into a pose called triangle pose. So we've worked on opening, on everything that we need to do to accomplish this posture. So let's see if we can do it. So both legs are straight. Please make sure you're not locking those knees out. So that kind of locking or bouncing in the joint, we don't want that. We want there to be just a little bend or a micro bend. Left hand on the chair, right hand can come to the hip. You're just going to start to lean towards that chair. You'll notice a stretch here, maybe in the inner thighs and back of the thigh, along the side of the body here. I like to bring my forearm to the back of the chair. However, if you're in a wider stance, maybe you're a little more flexible, you might be able to bring your hand to a block. But our goal is to keep that alignment just like we did in the chair of the torso stacked over that front leg. So we're trying not to twist the spine. We're trying not to let that chest sink down. So we want to keep that chest open. So if that means you need to come and lift out of it a little bit, then that's what you'll do. You can take that right arm, lift it up towards the ceiling if that feels accessible to you. In triangle pose, Trikonasana. Breathe here. Beautiful. This is working on your balance, just being in this kind of wide-legged, leaning posture. But let's work on the balance a little bit more. So right hand comes to the hip. If your left hand is on a block, go ahead and move that block out of the way. Bring that hand back to the chair. We're going to bend into that left foot. You can bend that right knee a little bit, either kind of springing up and lifting that leg, or if that doesn't seem possible, you're just going to kind of inch that foot in until you can shift the weight to that left leg. So we're trying to keep, again, that open stance. This is called half moon. If you can, you're going to shift your hand. Maybe even this hand can come to the chair. You can shift that left hand to the seat of the chair if that's accessible. And if you can, you're trying to lift this leg parallel to the ground. But again, you might not be anywhere close. You might be more like here, and that's fine. But you're going to try to test your balance. So possibly lifting that hand away, both hands. Again, you might be a little more like so. Still, you can work on lifting that hand away. You might fall out of it and just try to come back into it. Taking one more breath here. And slowly coming up. Shake it out. Let's go ahead and take a stretch for that side of the body that we worked pretty hard just now. So walking pretty far away from your chair, so you're almost kind of leaning. Go ahead and press that right hip over, probably already feeling a stretch along the back. Maybe reaching that arm up. You can bend that left knee to deepen the stretch even a little bit more. Yeah. Take one or two more breaths here, and we'll switch sides. On an inhale, coming up, walking closer to your chair here before you let go. So just making sure you've got your balance back. I'm going to shift my chair over, but really all you need to do is turn unless your back is now facing the TV, and then you might want to, or computer or whatever device you're watching from, then you may want to move your chair. So now you're standing with that right hip facing the chair, right hand on the chair. You're going to turn those right toes out so that they're more or less facing the chair. It might be a little bit more at an angle. That's fine. And then you're walking that left foot away from the right. Just trying to create as much length here as you can, as you're comfortable with. If you were using the block on the other side, you may want to just go ahead and set it there for you to easily grab hold of. So walk that foot out. You're trying to intersect, so heel intersects arch of this left foot. If you can manage to create that line. From here, both legs are straight but not locked out. So micro bend. Lifting, you can lift this left arm up. Start to send that shoulder. So if your balance is good, you can have both arms out. And you're trying to reach out with those right fingertips. But if not, you're reaching kind of with this right shoulder. And once you've found your depth as far as you can go in this side reach, you're lifting that left arm up to the ceiling. So again, you may be able to come down here. Probably your stance is a little wider if that's the case. Trying to open that chest forward in your triangle pose. You may look more like this. And that's beautiful too. Every variation, whatever variation you can take, is awesome, for real. I'm not just saying that. That's the beauty of yoga. Every body looks different in every pose, and yet it's still the same pose, and it's beautiful. Take another breath or two wherever you're at. We'll transition into that half moon balance, our Ardha Chandrasana. So bringing that left hand to the hip or to the back, wherever feels, wherever, let me get my my volume back on. Wherever feels more comfortable. Too much of a side lean, y'all. Sorry about that. Okay. So lift that hand back to the chair. You can walk this foot in to make it a little bit easier to shift the weight into that right foot, lifting that left leg up. So again, the body is opening out to the side, not down towards the chair. Try to test your balance here, maybe coming a little deeper, bringing that hand to the chair. Maybe you've got both hands on the chair because your balance is not great. That's fine too. This is why we're doing this, to build strength in the body, to work on that balance. So trying to lift both hands away if you can. Take a couple more breaths here. If you fall out of it, come back into it. And very slowly release out of this, because the slower you release, the more you're testing your balance. Nice work. Shake those legs out. Come far away from the chair. Feet together. Bending that right knee. Pushing those hips over to the left. You may feel enough of a stretch there in the side of the body, but you may want to deepen it and open that arm. Yes. I've heard people refer to this as banana asana, banana pose. But really it's just a nice, or crescent bend I've heard. So I just call it a really nice juicy side reach. All right, when you've had enough, come out of that reach. Carefully walk those feet in, get your balance, and then you can let go. And let's come back to the chair. Beautiful effort today, everyone. In the chair, we're just going to get ready to relax. So one final stretch, seated pigeon pose. We've done a lot for the hips today. Let's close the loop, close the circle, finish the love for the hips. So coming to the edge of your seat, there are two variations you can take of this stretch. If you know that your hips are not very flexible, you might want to first try crossing your right ankle over the top of the left foot. Knee opens out to the side. That may already give you a decent stretch, but if not, you may want to try to hinge forward. Everyone try this version. If you are in this pose and you're not feeling much stretch at all in the hip, I encourage you to draw that knee into the chest. Cross that ankle over. Make sure the ankle's not pressing into the top of the thigh, so it's like crossed a little over to the side. Now you're probably feeling it there, all in the hip and the back. And if you're still not, or if you just want to deepen the stretch, hinge forward, and you'll really feel it. You can also take that right hand and just very gently press down on the thigh. Don't ever press on the knee. We want to protect those knees, not strain them. So trying to take several more deep breaths here. Finding as much release as you can. Trying to relax the jaw, the eyebrows. This is a pretty intense stretch. We're holding it for about 30 seconds. So you're going to have to kind of force your body to relax into it. It's going to want to tighten up. But we've done a lot of stuff to open the hips. Hopefully you're more receptive to this stretch than if you were just doing it without any of the stuff we did before. Slowly start to inhale to lift up. Uncross either the ankle, uncross the ankle, whether you're down at the floor or up here. Bring that foot down. Notice the differences between the two sides. Let's do the other side. So ankle over ankle, if you did that on the other side, hinging forward until you feel your stretch. Or if you can manage it, Tucking that knee way up into the chest, crossing that ankle over, and coming into this version, hinging forward. You might notice, if you were watching, my left knee is higher than my right knee. My left side is tighter. You may notice that you have an imbalance as well. That's pretty normal. And due to our everyday bad habits of posture, or favoring one side over the other, if an old injury, there are so many reasons why you might have imbalances. And so we just try to note them, we try to balance them out or even them out, but it takes a while, and it takes a lot of observation. So try to release into this side as much as you can, especially if it's your tighter side, like for me. It may take a little bit more effort to find that release. Hopefully your body is feeling just content, at ease, peaceful. We'll extend that sense of peace here with Shavasana in just a minute, our corpse pose. So go ahead and inhale up whenever you're ready. Uncross the ankle. Shake the legs out. Oh, who's ready to relax? I know I am. So many options here. You can release back into your chair. So just trying to get as comfortable as you can in the chair while still kind of keeping the chest open. But we're not so worried about posture like we were in the beginning of class. If you have the option, I definitely recommend transferring perhaps to your couch, transferring to the floor, laying on your mat. You can lay down, put your legs up in the chair. You can move to an armchair or recliner or just a more comfortable chair. So just get as comfortable as you can. Relax any tension in the body. So if you're staying in the chair, you definitely want to just kind of let those knees fall open to the sides. We're not trying to hold anywhere in the body. We're trying to let go of all that tension. So just relax as best you can. Let the eyes close. And just begin to notice the heaviness of the body. Releasing it, releasing the bones, the muscles, into the support of whatever you're resting on. Letting go of control of the breath as well. And noticing if your body feels different than it did before you started. Maybe a little more spacious, a little more loose and open, a little more peaceful. And we take this time to rest the mind and the body, to allow everything that we did, all of our practice, our breathing, our movement, to allow it to be integrated into the body, to settle in, to create new samskaras, new grooves, patterns, habits. So rest easy here, knowing that you're creating change for the better on every level, in the physical body, in the emotional body, in the mental body. And you may decide to stay here a little bit longer. But if you feel ready to start to come out of Shavasana, just begin by starting to move the toes and the fingers. Just small little movements to start. Maybe scrunching up the toes and scrunching up the fingers, spreading them out. Starting to roll out the ankles and the wrists. And starting to stretch out long. And you can stay laying down to finish class, or you can come to a seated position. Wherever you end up, bring the palms together in front of the heart. And just feel a sense of love and gratitude and peace and ease. And hopefully you can take that with you from today's class and project it out and hold it as long as possible. And the light and love within me recognizes that within you. Namaste. You can open your eyes whenever you're ready. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you have any questions or comments or need me in any way, just reach out. My info's on the hub, or you can call the front desk. And I hope you have an awesome day, and I will see you next time. Bye.